Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are tuning into. It is so nice to be back for another week. As you guys know, I'm joined by the beautiful Pri. Hi, Pri. Tell us, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Really well, thank you. And we are both really excited to be back here this week. And I think it ties in perfectly because what we're talking about is, it's a platform we're on right now. And we're talking about social media. So, all the things about is social media affecting us? How does it affect us? And is it really a double-edged sword?
Mhm.
And we would like to start with a question here, asking you, have you ever scrolled through your feed and suddenly felt not good enough? Like you're comparing your story to someone else's. Or maybe you've been scrolling through your phone on a morning and you found an inspiring post that has just shifted your entire day. And it seems like we're one swipe away from inspiration or one swipe away from insecurity. And as we know, social media is everywhere. So the question is it helping us or is it hurting us? Or is it black and white like that? It doesn't have to be one or the other. So, Pri, why don't you start and shine a light on why social media is so important in today?
Yeah, such an important question, I guess. Whether we like it or not, social media has become a huge part of how we connect, communicate, and even validate our experiences, right? It's where we get our news, promote our work, build communities, and find our people. And in today's world, I think it's more than an app. It's almost like a lifestyle. Let's take a
Mm,
moment to really reflect on why social media has become such a significant part of our daily lives. So first, we it's how we connect. We live in a fast-paced world where people move, travel, and work remotely. Social media bridges the distance, helps us stay in touch with friends, family, loved ones, and that's no matter where they are. We can stay connected. We can always check in. A simple message can remind someone that, hey, I'm thinking of you. Second is how we express ourselves, whether through a photo, words, art, or even videos. Social media gives us the space to show who we are and what we care about, our values, our purpose. And for many of us, it's about a digital diary, like almost like a mirror for self expression. It's also where we find community for those who feel isolated, whether because of mental health struggles, grief, or just being different. Social media can offer a sense of belonging. There are groups and spaces where you're not just accepted but celebrated. It's a platform for business and growth too. Entrepreneurs, artists, coaches like us, and creators are building their careers much like us and reaching audiences they could never have imagined before. Social media has democratized, okay, visibility. You don't need a big studio or corporate job to share your voice. You just need a phone and a message. And we've been seeing this, since so long. Um, and finally, that's how we stay informed from, world events to health information to inspiring thought leaders. Social media delivers news in real time. Something has happened in the morning and it's all over the social media. Like we can see it in a couple of hours. Um, so I guess it's not just a tool anymore. It's a part of how we live, connect, and even understand ourselves. Um, let's get into the positives of social media, Mel.
yeah. And I think I guess ever since COVID was really when social media kind of really I guess not so much social media, but I guess things like using, Zoom and people working from home and there's again, two sides of this of it's created spaces where we can work from home and we have access to people and things so much easier. But then on one side, there's also creating that isolation by people not going into workplaces every day. And so, there are kind of two sides to it. And one beautiful thing that has happened is that we can connect without borders. So we can connect to family and friends interstate, overseas, and really, like you said, check in and just go, hey, we'll just jump on a 10-minute call. You can see their face, you can send a message in a couple of seconds and really let someone know that we're thinking about them, which is a really beautiful thing. Having that connection piece is what social media is really great at doing, connecting so many people who wouldn't normally come into contact. And funny story, me and Pri actually met on social media. So we have to thank social media for that one.
Yes, definitely.
And so without that, would we have come in contact with one another? Would we be doing this right now? And so, it has such a beautiful aspect to it.
And
And like you mentioned earlier, Pre, is it gives you that creativity as well, which I love about social media, is that you get to be your own creator in, a story that you want to tell. You're a storyteller. Everyone's an artist in some way. Everyone tells or shows their story in a certain light that either resonates or not with people. Everyone's a comedian these days, and that's the thing I love about social media is that we can share these funny videos and, just this joy with our audience or with people. And it's joy at your fingertips, which I think, again, can be used as a really good tool if it's used in the right way. Things like, you look up, it might be a workout video or recipes. It's giving us inspiration and also education, again, on the right platforms that you can find everything at, touch of your fingertips. So mental health tips, things like this that we're doing today, being able to spread that information out to people in communities who might not have the access to it and making things that aren't accessible to people really accessible. If I give an example, a workout, like you don't have to go to the gym.
yeah.
You can look up workouts from home. You can look up any type of recipe that you don't need to carry around a big book for, or, things like that, that it's really a helpful tool if we are using it in those ways. And I think, like, lastly, probably like what you said, Pre, is having a community.
Mhm.
So, a community where people feel like they belong, a community that there's so many different communities out there that people have a chance to be a part of. You can find your tribe, whether it's through events. And another great thing that social media is doing is giving people platforms to create things like events, to create movements or fundraising for all different things, and really encouraging, I guess, small business or entrepreneurs like us to be able to put ourselves out there and put products out there that people wouldn't normally see if they're not making it on a big scale. And so I really think that social media, again, is up to how you use it. There are some really great things that I've found through social media because that's my experience through it. And I do honestly love it personally. But I know on the flip side that there is a really ugly side of social media. So, Pre, do you want to speak into your experience or the negatives that come with social media?
Yeah, definitely. I agree with all, that you said. The positives, it's definitely, something, it's actually how you look at it and how you want to use it. It is definitely a tool that has become a lifestyle, but it's all in our hands how we want to utilize it. Okay, so let's talk about the flip side, the side of social media that isn't so pretty. the part that often goes unspoken, yet quietly shapes how we feel, think, and relate to ourselves and others. Now, there's one thing that is, I think, very common, especially in young adults, teenagers, and young adults, adolescents, that is the comparison trap. We're constantly bombarded with images of perfect lives, bodies, relationships, careers, even though we know these are curated highlights, not the full picture. We have no idea what the behind the scenes are, but our brain still compares. You know, you might start questioning your worth. Am I doing enough? Do I look good enough? Why am I not as happy as they are? These kind of comparisons strip away, at the self-esteem and distorts our reality. Another one is time drain and addiction. Social media is designed to keep us scrolling. The dopamine hit from a like or a comment is real and addictive.
Mm,
Without even realizing it, hours can go by because of the endless scrolling. And instead of feeling fulfilled, we often feel drained, overstimulated, or empty. It really hijacks our focus, affects our sleep, and even replace real world connections. Recent in recent years, there are people walking on the road. They're usually on the phones, scrolling and God knows what while walking on road, in the middle of traffic. I guess, yeah, just things have been changing and how, right? And there's
mm,
so much. Okay, so there are other negatives as well, like performing over being. We can start living for the likes, for the comments, that people should like us. If we are getting
mm,
these number of likes, that means, we are popular or we're doing the right thing. Instead of being present in the moment, we're thinking about how to capture it for others to see it, to see our content. Our online identity can start to feel more real than who we truly are, and we lose touch with authenticity. Are we living or are we just performing? Right? There's
I
also,
love that pre.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's also then loneliness and disconnection. Ironically, the more we connect online, the lonelier we can feel in real life. Digital
Mm,
connection doesn't always equal to emotional intimacy. And when everyone seems busy and thriving, we may feel like we're the only ones struggling.
mm,
Like mentioned earlier, we don't know the behind the scenes. Um, but behind every perfect post is a human being with their own pain, own struggle, insecurities, silent battles. The mental health impact is, I think, it's major. Studies
mm,
show increased social media has use is linked to anxiety, depression, and body image issues, especially in teens and young adults. When we're constantly consuming content, we rarely give ourselves space to just be, be in the moment, be present, be with our thoughts, be with real connections. It overstimulates our nervous system and floods the mind with constant noise, like making it harder to hear our own voice. There's also the misinformation that spreads and the pressure to keep up, the FOMO, the fear of missing out on so many things, from health myths to unrealistic beauty standards. There's just a lot of content that can be harmful, and it creates
mm,
confusion, pressure to always be in the know, to have a hot take, to stay relevant. So yeah, the fast-paced digital environment doesn't allow us the time we often need to process, reflect, or rest. And here's the truth.
mm,
Social media, like you mentioned, Mel, isn't inherently good or bad. It's just how we relate to it. We can set boundaries, we can be more mindful. The more we become mindful, I guess we can set boundaries and choose what we consume. And because you deserve a life that feels good on the inside, not just one that looks good on the outside, it's our choice how we, set these boundaries. So we can't always control the digital world around us, obviously, but we can become aware of what we're engaging with. So, awareness is the doorway to intentional living. It starts with simple questions like, am I consuming or connecting? How does this make me feel? Am I
Mm,
using this as a tool or is this using me? When we pause and
mm.
tune in, we realize that social media doesn't have to dictate our worth, our pace, our values. Awareness definitely invites boundaries, and you can unfollow accounts that trigger comparison. You can mute, take breaks, create time blocks for being offline. You can choose to consume content that nourishes you, things that inspire, educate, make you feel seen, make you feel, give you the inspiration to be creative. And instead of reaching out for our phone first thing in the morning, we can always check in with our body, our breath, our heart. And I remember, Mel, we've had this conversation of something you do every morning once you
Yeah.
are awake and you open your eyes and you have three breaths or something. Please tell me.
Yeah. Yeah, so I again used to just roll over and get on the phone and then kind of just realizing what that was doing for my nervous system, and nervous system regulation's been a huge thing for me. So I just do three intentional breaths, and it's something so simple and it's so easy, and I just my alarm goes off and I lay there and I just take three breaths and I just have a mental check-in. Like this morning I was like, oh, how do I feel in my body? And I was like, oh no, like I feel a little bit sore from the gym, but I actually feel quite good. And it's like, okay, how do I feel mentally today? And it's like, I feel clear, I feel like energized. And then like the next breath, I kind of ask, well, how do I want to show up today? And it just gives me a moment to check in with what's actually going on in my body before I'm like out of bed online, like, let's do the thing, you know? So it's just a really beautiful thing that I have found. Pre, I'm sure like you've got your own things too, but it's just really important, like you had just mentioned then, like there were so many things that were going in my mind about, how are you using social media? Like, are you using it to inspire you? Are you using it to connect, or are you using it to numb? Is a question I would be asking. Because if we're going to that phone, is it at a triggered time? Is there a pattern there? And again, like you said, it's just having the awareness to go, being intentional, and kind of asking yourself, like, why am I reaching for the phone, or what am I looking at? Why am I looking at it? Just awareness, like you said, is such a beautiful window into why we do the things that we do.
Yeah, beautifully said. Thank you, Mel. And
Mhm.
I guess, yeah, so awareness just basically restores our presence in any moment instead of like we just talked about, reaching for our phones or just being in the moment, not wanting to document everything, returning to the real with more intention. Right? Like awareness brings back choice. You get to choose what you share, you get to choose what you internalize, you get to choose how you show up, not for the algorithm, but for your soul. Because healing,
Mhm.
peace, and growth don't live in the scroll, they live in the stillness. And when we bring conscious awareness into how we interact with the digital world, we protect our energy, our mental space, and our ability to be fully authentically ourselves. So, I guess let's use social media as a tool, not a tether. Let it be a bridge, not a burden. Any thoughts, Mel?
Yeah, and something you said earlier about like, like highlight reel, and we know that's what social media is. It's a highlight reel. And so when you said that, something came to mind that like, yeah, the reel might look great, but that's the reel and that's not the whole movie. So just remember that what you're seeing is what someone wants you to see, and it's not the whole story. So there's a lot behind that. You mentioned earlier, Pre, that like, the person behind that, has their own thing going on. They might have their own pain, or they might have their own um things that they're dealing with, but you don't see that.
Yeah.
So just being really compassionate with yourself, that it's not everything that you're seeing. You're only seeing a portion of the actual story. Um, and today we sort of came into this asking, is social media the villain or is it the hero? And I don't think it's either or. I don't think it's one or the other. Like you, Pre, I do think it is a tool. If we use social media with awareness, I think it does fuel connection. Whereas if we are using social media unconsciously and not understanding what we're consuming, I think that then can fuel comparison, the comparison to be a certain way. So, if I reference like it's the wolf story where there's the two wolves, and it's an old time story where the child says to the grandpa, like, well, there's the two wolves and which one wins? And he says, well, it's the one that you feed. So what are you feeding into your everyday? Are you feeding it from that light, or are you feeding it from that sort of numbing? Which is just a question that you may want to ask yourself. So yeah, let us know though. We're really curious to know, what are your thoughts on social media. Put your comments below, or reach out to us on our platforms and let us know. Usually I find that, the whatever people's experience has been with social media will give the answer to that, and how those experiences have shone through for you. So yeah, we're really curious to see, are you for, are you against, are you mutual parties in all of it? So I think, like you said, Pre, I think together we can make social media a really beautiful space to support our well-being, to nourish us, and not to hinder it. So yeah, let us know your thoughts anyway. And we look forward to seeing you again all next week. If you have topics that you want us to speak on, we love getting them in. We love coming up with new things. So let us know. And until then, we will see you next week. Take
Right.
care.
Bye.